I was talking to Ben about was that, years ago, somebody's I used to go to the gym with and that sort of thing. And once a week, we used to do what they call burnouts. And burnouts were a brutal, brutal, brutal part of the week. Basically, you start out with the heaviest weight you can possibly lift. And you do, let's say you're doing curls, you do as many curls as you possibly can with that level of weight until you can't lift anymore, and you set it down and you go in 5 weight increments. So if you started out with 50, you're doing curls with 50, then you drop down to 45, you do as many as you possibly can till you can't lift anymore, then you drop down to 40, you do as many as you possibly can, then you drop down to 30, 35, and on and on and on until you get to 5 pounds, and your arms are so burnt you literally cannot curl 5 pounds. Okay, so that's burnouts. It's putting your body in a state of shock and total burnout until you can't possibly lift or do anything anymore. So how does that relate to this? Okay, so this is AEP, okay? And it only comes around once a year. It is once a year shot opportunity where you have the most calls, most opportunity to write the most applications. So when I was on W-2, there was a couple people that I used to compete with pretty heavy. And once a week or once, a while, we would do a day. We didn't necessarily call it burnouts, but we'd do a day where we would get on the phones as early as we possibly could. And we would stay on the dialer as long as we possibly could throughout the entire day and write as many enrollments as we possibly can. And whoever had most hours on the dialer and most enrollments won. And so on those days, I would start at 6 a.m. and sometimes I wouldn't get done till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, sometimes later. It was brutal. And one guy that I was most competitive with, guy by the name of Brandon, we went toe to toe a lot. He put me to task on more than one day. And like I was telling Ben, one day I can remember I didn't get done till like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And at the end of the night, I had 16 enrollments, and I think he beat me by 1. I think he had 17. It was that brutal. It was a brutal day, but okay, it's one day. It's one day of inconvenience, one day of being uncomfortable. And it paid off well in terms of that. I had a couple doubles that day. I mean, it was a good day, and it makes you feel good, and like I said, a lot of these people, we've got a lot of top producers and stuff on the team. There shouldn't be much in the way of argument or talk in terms of the top producers wanting to participate. If you don't have that drive, if you don't want to do that, something's wrong in your brain. You should want to be the top. You should want to be number one, which is one of the reasons why I keep telling gyms, practice saying my name so you can say congratulations, Jacob, for winning burnout. That's all I keep saying. You should want that. You should have that. For the other people, it's like you should be able to, you should be willing to push yourself to that level at least once a week. At least once a week. If you're not willing to recognize the opportunity that's in front of you right now in terms of AEP, with it being a finite number of days, you have 55 days once a year. That's it, that you have to put forth a little bit more effort. You have to dig deep and actually bring a little bit more to the table. 55 days. If you do that for 55 days once a year, you can set yourself up for the entire year. Who has that opportunity? Who has that opportunity? Instead of punching a clock going 9 to 5 every single day, day in and day out for an entire 12-month period, you have the opportunity to dig deep, eliminate the excuses, put forth the time and effort for 55 days and be done. If you had the ability to shovel wet horse manure into wet paper bags in the rain, and you had to do that for a finite amount of time, but when you were done, you were set up, wouldn't you be willing to do that? For a finite time, a small amount of time, wouldn't you be able to do that? That's what is here right now, AEP, that's it. So you got, and I've been hearing a lot, oh, well, Marks doesn't work and all this stuff. Marks never works, okay? For whatever reason, for whatever reason. I don't understand why. I mean, obviously it's the U.S. federal government, so you can make excuses in terms of competence and stuff like that. Every reason, once a year, for whatever reason, they can't figure out that they've got over 200,000 agents nationwide that are going to be logging into the Marks system to be looking and verifying Medicare benefits, and they can't figure out that they need more servers, or they need the ability to, deal with that amount of volume once a year. They're always going to have that problem because, at some point in time, somebody, has a level of incompetence in what they're doing, and that throws a wrench into the whole process. So if you don't need to look up Marks, don't look up Marks. This is AEP. If they have their Medicare number, put the number in. If they don't have the number, okay, if all they got is a Social Security, then pipeline them. You tell them, hey, listen, you need to contact, Medicare and get your Medicare number, and I will call you back when you have that. Am I going to call Medicare for them and sit on the line with Medicare to get their number? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste my time. Why? Because there's 5 other people behind them that have their Medicare cards and their Medicare numbers. Don't waste time on people like that. Go to the next call. Don't use Marks as an excuse not to write. It's not an excuse not to write. One or two things is going to happen. Either you're going to be able to have their Medicare number and you're going to do an enrollment, or you're going to have a pipeline. That's it. That's the outcome. If they're throwing you a Social Security and you try to get into Marks and you can't get into Marks, I'm going to pipeline. I'm going to the next call. Simple as that. In this business, in this industry, there are always, always, always going to be roadblocks. There's always going to be roadblocks. That's just the nature of the beast. There's too many working parts, too many variables, too many people that have their hands in the kitchen trying to create something. So eliminate as much of that as you possibly can, and just be like water. Water is going to go over, around, or through whatever you put in front of it. Whatever you put in front of it, it's going to go over, around it, or through it. You have to have that mentality, because you're going to have roadblocks come up through work. You're going to have roadblocks come up through home. There's going to be all sorts of reasons throughout these next 55 days that are going to stop you or cause you to prevent you from getting what you want to get done. Don't allow it. You just can't allow it. You have to just go around it. So I love the fact that, everybody was excited about AEP until AEP got here and they had a bad day, first day of AEP. That's a bummer. It was a Sunday. People were rude. People had worked on pipelines, couldn't get a hold of anybody, went to voicemail. Go to the next call, man. Go to the next call. Quit allowing what is going to be there in terms of, roadblocks and conflict and stuff. Like, quit allowing the things to prevent you from doing what you got to do. You got to do it anyway. You're just going to go around it. It's as simple as that. And everybody has bad days. Everybody has bad days. I mean, even Jim's. I mean, he looks pretty. He looks like he never has a bad day in his life. But we all know Jim's has bad days. So, and we're not immune from any of it. Even the top producers have bad days too. It's just how it works. Don't take it personal. Just move on. So that's my speech. I want to do one day, and I want to do it tomorrow on Wednesday. I was talking to Ben in terms of the call volume, which day of the week has the most call volume, because we want as much call volume as we got. And based on what we both know, it sounds like Wednesday's the day. So we want to try it tomorrow. So for people who are interested and they want to participate in burnouts tomorrow, we're going to start as early as we can. I'm on the West Coast. I'm going to be starting at 6:00, which is 9:00 East Coast time. People that are East Coast, you get a 3-hour jump on me, and you're going to need it. Wish you the best. But anyway, we're going to start as early as we can.